What if the gap between you and the life you want is not as wide as you think it is? What if the reason you feel behind your peers, behind where you thought you'd be by now, behind some invisible timeline you never actually agreed to and definitely did not sign, has nothing to do with your ability and everything to do with what you're measuring yourself against? I want to tell you something that took me an embarrassingly long time to understand. And I wish someone had told me sooner. Preferably before I spent 3 years feeling like I was losing a race I didn't even remember entering. 3 years ago, I was sitting in my car in a parking lot outside a grocery store, not doing anything, just sitting, which is a completely normal thing to do and not at all the behavior of someone having a quiet crisis. Totally fine. I had just run into an old classmate, someone I graduated with, someone who had just bought a house, was getting married in the spring, had a job title that sounded impressive and seemed to have everything assembled in the exact order society told us it should be assembled. Meanwhile, I was picking up pasta for a Tuesday dinner in my small apartment and wondering if store-brand pasta sauce was a personality flaw. And I just sat there in the car feeling like I had completely missed a turn somewhere. Like everyone got a map and mine got lost in the post, or maybe I got the map but was holding it upside down the entire time. Sound familiar? Here is what I didn't understand in that parking lot. I was measuring my insides against someone else's outsides. I was taking my full internal experience, every doubt, every setback, every 2 a.m. moment of wondering if I was on the right track while eating cereal directly from the box, and comparing it to the single polished version of someone else's life that they chose to show me in a 5-minute conversation outside a grocery store. That comparison was never fair. It was never even real. Because what I couldn't see standing there nodding and smiling and pretending I also had exciting life updates was that he had his own parking lot moments, his own 2 a.m. questions, his own private gap between where he was and where he thought he should be. Every single person does. The people who look the most put together are often the ones working the hardest to hold it together. The duck looks calm on the surface. Underneath it is absolutely paddling for its life. But here is the thing that actually changed everything for me. I went home that night and instead of scrolling through Instagram making the feeling worse, which I did for about 45 minutes first because I'm only human, I did something different. I wrote down every single thing I had figured out in the last 3 years. Not achievements, not milestones, not things that would look good on a LinkedIn profile that nobody actually reads past the job title anyway. Just things I understood now that I didn't understand before. I understood how to have a difficult conversation without destroying the relationship. I understood that most anxiety is just imagination running without supervision. I understood that the people I most wanted approval from were themselves desperate for approval from someone else. I understood that rest is not the reward for finishing work. It is part of the work itself. None of that was on his highlight reel. None of it would fit in a 5-minute parking lot conversation. But it was real. It was mine. And it had taken years of actually living, including the hard parts and the embarrassing parts, and that 1 year we don't talk about, to earn. Here is the truth about being ahead that nobody talks about. Being ahead is not about what you have. It is about what you no longer need. The person who no longer needs external validation to feel confident is ahead. The person who can sit in discomfort without immediately reaching for their phone is ahead. The person who has stopped performing their life for an audience and started actually living it is ahead. These things are invisible. You cannot photograph them. You cannot casually drop them into a parking lot conversation, but they compound. Quietly and powerfully they compound. And one day you look up and realize that the gap you were so desperate to close was never the gap that actually mattered. Most people spend their entire life in reaction mode, reacting to what their parents expected, reacting to what their peers are doing, reacting to whatever milestone society decided should come next. They are never actually choosing their direction. They are just following the current and calling it progress and occasionally posting about it. The fact that you are watching this video tells me something about you. It tells me you are paying attention, not just going through the motions, not just consuming whatever the algorithm throws at you. Though, to be fair, the algorithm did throw this at you, so maybe thank it later. You are actively looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and how to operate better in the world. That is not common. That is genuinely rare. Most people never do that. Most people stay on autopilot their entire lives and wonder at the end why the journey felt empty. You are not most people. So here is what I want you to actually do with this. Not tomorrow, tonight. Before you open any other app. Yes, including that one. Write down 3 things you understand now that you did not understand 2 years ago. They do not have to be dramatic. They do not have to be impressive. They just have to be true. Because that list is your real progress report, not your salary, not your relationship status, not your apartment or your car or your job title. Those things are real and they matter, but they are not the measure of how far you have actually come. The measure is internal. It always has been. And here is the quiet truth underneath all of it. The version of you sitting in that parking lot 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10, would look at who you are right now and feel genuine relief, would look at what you know, how you carry yourself, what you no longer tolerate, what you no longer need, and think finally, we're going to be okay. You have already done more than you are giving yourself credit for. You are already further along than the noise in your head is willing to admit. The gap is not as wide as you think. And the fact that you can hear that, the fact that some part of you recognizes it as true even if another part is already drafting a counter-argument, means you are already in the top 5% of people who are actually paying attention to their own life. Most people never get here. You already are. Thanks for watching. And until next time.